And if I can exemplify the correction of some of the defects that have been brought in our government by politicians and not by the people, and help to restore the greatness of this country, then I'd like to do it. I can't say at this moment what other nations will not go to the Summer Olympics in Moscow. Ours will not go. Many of these proposals will be unpopular. Some will cause you to put up with inconveniences and to make sacrifices. The government of Iran must recognize the gravity of the situation which it has itself created and the grave consequences which will result if harm comes to any of the hostages. It's clear that the true problems of our nation are much deeper than gasoline lines or energy shortages, deeper even than inflation or recession. So I want to speak to you first tonight about a subject even more serious than energy or inflation. I want to talk to you right now about a fundamental threat to American democracy. The threat is nearly invisible in ordinary ways. It is a crisis of confidence in a nation that was proud of hard work, strong families, close-knit communities, and our faith in God. Too many of us now tend to worship self-indulgence and consumption. Human identity is no longer defined by what one does, but by what one owns.
In my life, I have always struggled and envied people who have figured out a way to make a difference in the world. People who know how, as we like to say, move the needle. I would not have known to call Habitat for Humanity if it wasn't for President Carter and Rosalind Carter. It's because of these two people that my friends and I were able to find a way to help in a very, very small way. It's with tremendous envy that I am blessed to be here today with the President and his wife, because they have become, in their lives, a beacon to show you what needs to be done and how it can be done.
Somebody big just died. Former President Jimmy Carter is dead at 100 years old. My friend Mike North is here to help eulogize him. Mike, we've been waiting 19 months.
19 months, Joe, and he's finally here. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the thing you got to talk about is when somebody passes away, ladies and gentlemen. Joe knows this. I know this. Everybody knows this. You have to have a place to go, a place to let them rest. Their final resting place. And who can supply that for you better than anybody? Cumberland Chapel's Funeral Home, 8300 West Lawrence Avenue, folks. Tony Lupo, Pete Martino and the boys, everybody getting it done. CumberlandChapels.com. Serving families, of course, as it says there, with dignity and grace. Plenty of chapel space. Nice rotunda. Couches everywhere to sit there, be able to be comfortable. They start you out. They try to make things economically feasible for you. They are the epitome of what a funeral chapel should be. It's Cumberland Chapels, 8300 West Lawrence Avenue. Check it out, CumberlandChapels.com. And then you got Pennyville Station, ladies and gentlemen. I was just there last week wishing my pal Tino Antonacci a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Had the cheeseburger, the prime burger there with bacon. Just outstanding. Great meeting place, great time. Right there across from the railroad station on Park Ridge, 112 Main Street. There it is, Pennyville Station, ladies and gentlemen. They won't be sitting outside in the next few months. There I am with Jesse Rogers of ESPN, my good buddy, and then Tony Antonacci, the man that runs the show, 112 Main Street, Pennyville Station. All right, 19 months ago, maybe 20, we heard he was going into hospice. Now, Eldo and I had just started this fledgling business, and it's been a great business.
That's right.
We love it. I think Aldo loved it. Aldo helped me conceive it, by just going along with it. He looked at me like, huh? I think, but he knew this is something I wanted to do. I kept seeing people being glossed over, you know, 1 minute on the news. And I said, listen, people are more important than it. Sure, we had our controversies. We've had our Mitzi Gaynors, of course. We've had our Liams, you know, we've had these guys. But we've also had plenty of people that passed away. It's been
Big
proven
names.
out. Yeah, it's just been, they've been dropping like flies. I never thought that the deaths would be like they are now. I did talk, my buddy Jimmy DiGiulio talked to a person that owns a funeral home, Smith Corcoran, who says, now he says that during the Christmas months, December to February are the most, where
Really?
they're the most busy. And it makes sense. You got a lot of stress during the holidays. You got your hugging. I mean, you're lunching, grocery gifts, everything else, and everything like that. Then you have the New Year, you know, and then you know, you think you're winding down. You eat a lot of sweets. You eat a lot of different things, and you know, so we appreciate them. We do. We appreciate what they've done this year. We don't do a end of the year type of thing. We'll leave that to TCM. I tweeted out today, the end of year, the people that have died during the year. We do it when it happens, and we have
Long
a
list, Mike.
Yeah, and apparently they disintegrate after a certain amount of time because Aldo can't find the Jimmy Carter stuff. Now, Aldo and I were so excited about the actual time that Jimmy Carter would actually pass away. Now, we did the taping 19, 20, 21 months ago. I can't even remember when it was. I was 32 pounds heavier. I weigh 207. I weigh like 175 now, okay? Aldo's beard was completely black at the time. He had more hair on his head. I am telling you, this is no lie, okay? The guy stayed alive. My uncle was in hospice for 3 days, and then it was over. I thought it was the final resting place, right?
Yeah, we all did. And I went to go back and pull it today, Mike, and I think after so long, the archives just deleted.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter outlived the tape. That's what we're talking about here. And all I know is he was in hospice for like a year and a half, over a year and a half. And they say it's a nice, relaxing thing. I'm sorry. I want to be at home if I'm well enough to be at home. Okay, at the end. If I'm in hospice, sayonara. That's it. Show me some footage of me as a youth. Let me remember myself. Goodbye. But no, Jimmy Carter stayed alive. I mean, Rosalind was in for three days.
She was. That a while ago too.
Yeah, she was in for 3 days, and she was sick after him. And then somebody must have put a pillow over her face or something. I don't understand what happened. My God, that was
how they
quick.
Kept him alive so long. I don't know, Mike.
The man was catching flies at the end, laying flat on his back, and now they're going to have him in the rotunda for 8 days. I don't think Reagan and Roosevelt had 8 days in the rotunda combined. So this guy's taking up a lot of oxygen. He's put me on pins and needles for 19, 20 months. And now we don't have the tape, but you know, we got a guy that I know very well. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, okay? If Biden hadn't been president, this guy was the worst. Except I respect this guy more than the last guy. That's not him in his finest hour. But
that's towards the end, Mike.
That's me as a Bear fan in 5 more years if things keep up. Okay, they take a good look at me. All right. So the whole thing about Jimmy Carter was he refused to go, and I helped get him elected in 1970. Whenever I was a precinct captain, he won Chicago big. Okay. And then Biden, lately has stolen his thunder. Jimmy Carter tried. Okay. This guy, we can't find him. Jimmy Carter tried to straighten things out, but he was too idealistic. He was more of a guy, a ma and pa type of operation for the White House. Great success, respect him fully, but as a president, I thought he was horrible. Okay. I mean, he got us involved in a lot of other things. He gave away, in fact, he's been in the news lately. He gave away the Panama Canal, gave it right back to Panama. We're the ones that busted our ass in that thing. Uh, the hostages were held over for years, 400 of
Yep.
them. We couldn't get them out. But the one thing that really struck me was when we had to wait in line for gas. I
Right.
said, this is more like a socialist type thing. Okay. And there's a gas station on Ridge and Devon across from Misericordia. It's a Shell.
Yeah.
I had never been in it. That's the only gas station in our area that was open at the time that had gas. I was car number 28. I'm standing in line and I'm going, you got to be kidding me. And if you heard Mr. Carter in his speech, he said there was more important things than inflation and energy and standing in line. Not to me and not to everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, he was trying to push his idealism, and we were waiting in lines, man. It was brutal. I mean, we were like a socialist country. He botched up the Afghanistan thing. They had helicopters crash trying to get the hostages in Iran. The Iranians held it over his head. He was just too nice. He was too nice, and he wasn't really. He tried to cozy up to Iran. He wasn't a big fan of the Jewish people. If you talk to the Jewish people about Jimmy Carter, he wasn't a big backer. So his presidency, to me, was a complete almost disaster. Okay, and I'm hearing things today, and yeah, Billy, his brother Billy Paul, very good call. He had issues. He was your typical country boy, a lot like Bill Clinton's brother Roger, by the way. But then he leaves the presidency. Okay, and he had a little bit of a scandal at the end, just like they all do, but it wasn't a big deal. And he got out. Look at those guys. Huh? Rosalind, God bless her. She was hot as a younger mom. I mean, she was a hot lady as a young woman. She really was. There's a great family. There's Bush and Carter. Carter was the most decent guy. Now, let me give you my view. See the guy on the left, he's a scoundrel. The guy on the right isn't. That's my opinion. I will say this. I don't think I've ever had a president that I disliked as much as Jimmy Carter. And I don't think I ever wanted to meet a president after he was done more than Jimmy Carter. Okay? Jimmy Carter made me love him. Jimmy Carter built people houses, man. A former president got in blue jeans with a tool belt and did something that none of us, I mean, I give to charities. Me and my wife have given to plenty of charities. People got families to raise. This guy was a president. He's on a roof hammering boards. A roof together.
That part you can't pick apart. It's like,
I will never. I respect Jimmy Carter. I thought he was a lousy president, but I tell the whole story. We tell the whole story here, and somebody big just died. So after he leaves, I go, okay, we got a new president. Things will get better, and they did. Okay. But then I started seeing what he was doing for Habitat to Humanity and doing stuff. Then I see him flying commercial. When John Kerry or even any of the past officials.
They all fly private.
They all fly private.
An ex-president flying commercial is just unheard of, Mike.
Well, yeah, and I don't know. Trump bought a commercial airliner, but yeah, he flies private. There's no doubt. It's the biggest private plane I've ever seen. Travolta, guys have their own planes. This guy flew commercial. He flew Delta. And there's a tape, I should have told Joe about it, that shows him walking through the aisles of an airplane, shaking every person's hand. The guy's like 90 years old at the time. And he's on a Delta airliner heading to Atlanta. People know he's on the plane. The president's on the plane. Now, when you see a president, I don't care who it is. I'd want to shake his hand. You were the president. Okay. I'll shake your hand. I'm not going to say I hate this guy and not shake. Oh, if I see the president, you shut up and you shake the man's hand out of respect, whether you like the guy or not. But you want to shake this guy hand because he's just a great human being, him and his wife. And they saved a lot of people, man. And they built a lot of houses. And they gave a lot of their time. And I can't think of a person I would rather meet than Jimmy Carter. My condolences go out to their whole family, Joe. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely, absolutely, 100 years old.
what a
He was
life.
the he was the first president born in a hospital. Think about that.
That's insane.
That's insane. This is what Joe says. Mike, where do you come up with this? I watch a lot of TV, Joe. I don't do much. I loaf. And I run into these things. You think I'm searching? And then I find them, and they're just good stuff, nuggets. The first president born in a hospital. I mean, that wasn't that long ago, folks. So Jimmy Carter, let me give you some of his particulars, okay? Because usually we start off with those. His vice president was Walter Mondale, by the way. Reagan gave him a waxing. Gerald Ford got beat by Jimmy Carter. He gave Ford a waxing, but Ford had been catching up to him. He had knocked it down from 7 percentage points to 2. We were nervous in the Democratic Party because I was working for the city of Chicago and a precinct captain with Richard Devine at the time. But we carried the ward, we carried the precinct, and Daley carried, and Chicago once again did a good job getting the votes. His lieutenant governor was one of the most racist individuals of all time, Lester Maddox.
Oh, wow. I forgot about that.
When he was governor of Georgia. So you have two opposites, really, that were in that same type of office. He was born in 1924, October 1st. That's our anniversary, me and Bees. God bless. December
God bless.
29th, he died on my brother's birthday. My brother John just turned 70. At 100 years of age, his wife's name was Rosalind Smith. He had 4 children, Jack and Amy. Of course, Amy was famous. Parents, James Earl Carter and Bessie Lillian Gordy. Went to the Naval Academy, was an outstanding midshipman. They had a family store, and he was just a guy that you have to admire. He was a farmer. He went back to Plains to live. He was a Georgia state senator. He ran 2 gubernatorial campaigns. He had the governorship from 71 to 75. Then he parceled that into a presidential campaign. Came across as the plain country guy. But and that's what he is. But once you're president, you get all sorts of barbs thrown at you. He was president. I agree with some of the past presidents during some of our toughest times, especially with the Middle East. U.S. Energy, we had a crisis there that got straightened out eventually. But we didn't like the Chrysler bailout. He bailed out Chrysler. We didn't like that. There were people going bankrupt in small businesses. Nobody bails them out.
Right.
Okay. And yet he bailed them out. So he did a lot of things that the common guy, he came across as the common guy, but the common guy isn't out to bail out big corporations. And that's where he started to lose that aura. He started the education system in this country.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and he ruined it. Education's been ruined since he started this education situation. Department of Education Organization Act. It's an empty building. 6% of the people show up. And since he started this, our education system has gone into the dumpster, and a lot of people blame Jimmy Carter for it. I mean, he also was the first to give out LGBTQ rights, which back in the 70s took a lot of guts. Okay. And people did not climb aboard that train at the time. His foreign policy was good, but him and Sadat, Joe's going, Mike, I don't see any paper in front of you. I don't need it.
He just knows.
Sadat, okay, and Bacon. They're like this. The Jews and the Arabs are together. Carter brought them together. A few months later, I don't know when it was, they killed Sadat. They assassinated him at a viewing stand. So that didn't work out. So he lost his life because of it. We started having trouble with Iran. We had trouble with the Soviet Union. They invaded Afghanistan, which was a mistake by them because Afghanistan was a tough Turkey. Okay. If you've ever seen Charlie Wilson's War, the movie with Tom Hanks.
Oh, yeah, good movie.
Yep. It's a great movie. It's all about how Afghanistan won, but really Charlie Wilson won that war by getting billions and billions and billions of dollars of weaponry sent to them.
And Mike, by the way, whenever you're ready, I did find that plane clip for you. I pulled it up on a fly. No
Joe,
pun intended.
I know you were doing that, and that's why I kept killing that time. And I said maybe Joe didn't do it, but now Joe chimed in. Let's watch Jimmy Carter here, just a regular guy. Hey, the president's here. Look at this. God. How awesome is that? That's the kind
about
of
as
guy.
cool as it gets.
That's right. You know what? He was a great man. He was a lousy president, but a great man. There's a difference. Okay? Maybe at a job you're not that good. That doesn't take away your morals, your character. Look at him laughing, meeting everybody. Half those people probably couldn't stand him at the time or didn't vote for him. Some of them didn't even know him probably. And then somebody says, guess who's coming down the aisle? Who? The president, former president of the United States.
Yeah.
To say, and he did that. That's the only one they got on tape. But once again, I was loafing today, watching TV. I guess on most flights to Atlanta, coming home, whatever, he was on a commercial airliner, which he flew a commercial. He did that. So on behalf of Joe, on behalf of me, on behalf of everybody in America, President Carter, God bless you. 100 years. You were a star of a human being. You're a man to look up to. You really are. And of all the presidents, okay, would I like to meet the current president? Yeah. Would I say, hey, Jimmy Carter, would you like to? Hell yeah. Jimmy Carter, you were a great man. And somebody big just died, and you were huge as a person. God bless, and God bless to the Carter family.
Absolutely. And we are going to be right back as we tribute Greg Gumbel, and we're going to roll the opening credits, and we'll be right back. So don't go away. We'll be right here.
Good pickup, Joe. Good pickup.
Greg Gumbel, Dan Marino, Shannon Sharp, Boomer Esiason, the NFL Today.
Welcome back, everyone, as we continue live here on the NFL Today. Well, welcome to our New York studios and to the NCAA Basketball Championship Selection Show. Tonight marks CBS Sports' 23rd year covering March Madness. Once again, from first round tip to the trophy presentation, this is your home for all of the emotion and excitement that is the NCAA Basketball Tournament. Throughout our country's history, Thanksgiving has conveyed warm thoughts of family and togetherness, and yes, turkey with all the trimming. Hi, everyone. Greg Gumbel along with Phil Simms. Happy Thanksgiving Day. Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel from above Victory Lane at Daytona International Speedway. Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel along with Phil Simms. Welcome to Houston. Welcome to the Super Bowl. Welcome once again to our studios in New York. Greg Gumbel along with Mike Ditka, Joe Gibbs, and Chris Collinsworth. The Colts leading the Pittsburgh Steelers 14-13 at halftime. We will talk about that game shortly. This is for an NFL record 66 yards.
Did that just happen, Greg?
Stockton, open three. Hit it! John Stockton sends the Utah Jazz to the NBA Finals.
The Patriots looking for a second Super Bowl title in 3 years from 41 yards. Looks good.
Somebody big just died. Broadcasting legend Greg Gumbel is dead at 78 years old. And my friend Mike North is here again with me to help deliver his eulogy. Mike, how are you, my friend?
It's a doubleheader we don't want to do, but we got to do it because somebody big just died. I'm doing great, Joe. We just did a wonderful tribute to Jimmy Carter. I don't think we have to retweet the new show, do we, Joe? I think it's still on the same tweet.
It's still running. Yep, we're still running.
We're going to probably try to squeeze it. We're talking about 40 minutes. Yeah, 40 minutes of testimonials.
That's right.
Things that have happened. Jimmy Carter was great. You know, Greg Gumbel is one of those guys when you named the top 5 announcers, his name would never come up. Okay? You name, of all time, Pat Summerall, maybe John Madden, Joe Buck, his name would never come up. And he did it all. But he was consistent. He didn't toot his horn. His brother Bryant was more of a horn tooter, to be honest with you. More of the flamboyant type. Greg, this was interesting. I did not know this. His great grandfather was a German Jewish man. So
yeah, I saw that on Twitter the other day.
Yeah, I saw that. And his great grandfather, paternal, was a German Jewish, and they grew up on the South Side. Now he was born in New Orleans. Now there's Greg on the left, Greg on the left and Bryant on the right. For years, he wore a toupee. For years. Or a wig. I mean, he was 78. The hair was just like as vibrant as when he was. In fact, his hair was better now than when he was younger. He had more of a straight lace type of hair and stuff like that. I remember the other day, Aldo put out a tweet with Greg Gumbel at Channel 5. He was at Channel 5 for 8 years in Chicago back in the day. Was not bad at all. I mean, he did good at everything. He was consistent. He did baseball. He did football. He did basketball. He did studio show, pre and post. He did the NCAA show. There he is. I mean, so just a different look back then. Okay.
I have that opening clip from that if we want to watch it real quick.
You always come up with special things, and I knew you would grab that one. Let's take a look.
Sure.
News Center 5 Sports. Al Meltzer, a seasoned veteran heading up the hottest team in town, covering the hottest teams in the country. Mike Lederman, an award-winning sports writer with an eye for game-winning plays. Greg Gumbel, the name Chicago turns to for the best coverage of any sport. Greg Gumbel, Mike Lederman, Al Meltzer. They've got a few scores to settle every day on News Center 5.
What a sweet promo.
I watch sports all the time since I was a wee child. I don't remember Al Metzger. I don't remember him. He must have been here for a cup of coffee. Mike Lederman, whenever somebody calls me Mr. North, okay, that's a problem. I know I got a problem. 2 guys have called me that. Tim Brando, who I interviewed on radio, Mr. North, and Mike Lederman. We had sort of that uneasy, big mouth first journalist type of situation. But Mike was a decent guy. Greg, I didn't know. Greg was born in New Orleans, but went to De La Salle. I heard he didn't like it there. Heard some of his classmates talk about it. But he had a great education. They were from Chicago. There were rumors that both brothers were making money, a lot of money, but the mother at the time, years ago, was still living in the projects. So they took a little heat for that at the time. More Bryant, who had gone on to bigger and famous things than to Greg. Greg, like I said, kept himself out of the spotlight where Bryant didn't for the most part. He went to Loras College. He was active for 50 years from 73 to 2023. So you can't begrudge him a 50-year career. Was great. Marcy Kazninsky was his wife. They had one child. He was at CBS twice. He was on NBC. He moved whenever they lost football. He moved to the station.
That's right.
Did football. Okay. I'm getting out of here. We're not doing football. I did baseball, but I really want to do football.
I'm pretty sure he did every sport, probably.
Yeah, I don't know if he did hockey, but he did the National League Championship Series. He did the NBA.
Yeah, the Olympics.
The Olympics. By the way, the one thing I forgot about Jimmy Carter earlier, I hate to pile on because I was very nice to him. But when he took the Olympics away from our athletes, we didn't like that either. We did not like that. Those kids busted their tail, and because Carter wanted to prove a point, he made them pay the price, and we never liked them. Anyway, back to Greg. Greg did the Olympics. Greg did plenty of things. Greg was a consistent performer. I'm sorry to hear he died of cancer very quietly.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I didn't even remember knowing.
No. He left NBC after its 1998 broadcast of the Super Bowl. He did not call it to return to CBS. They gave him the plum job, the NCAA selection show.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what really people looked at him as an announcer, good, but nondescript.
Heck of a voice.
Didn't have the voice like this. Didn't have that. How you doing, everybody? Didn't do any of that. Just did his game, did his show. Never any problems. Supposed to be the nicest guy in the world. He regularly appeared on Howard Stern's show. He lived in Davie, Florida. I did not know he regularly appeared on Howard Stern's show. He did refuse to attend the NASCAR banquet honoring Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas on the basis that he disagreed with Thomas' positions on political issues. So he's a weakling because somebody else had another opinion. I didn't see that until now.
Right.
So he was a weakling in a way. If I disagree with you, I'm not going to honor you, even though you've done NASCAR and you made your money off them. So I don't really approve of that. I don't approve of that whole deal. If you just, family's not getting together, I'm not going to this because of the way somebody feels. But that's not an overly big black mark. He didn't have black marks, didn't have controversy. He was a good father. He's a grandfather, raised a child, did a good job, worked consistently. This is where he did his best work, in my opinion. He was a good announcer, but I think he really adapted to studio shows. He was hosting the show with Cowher Esiason and those guys, and he got dumped for James Brown, and he went back to announcing. A lot of guys would have taken that hard. He kept his mouth shut, making a lot of money, and just melted into the back. Nothing ever was said about it. I'm sure he didn't feel good about it. Nobody ever wants to do that. He was back on the road again. He looked a young 78. I'll tell you that.
Right.
Okay. A young 78. He was a pro. We want to wish, of course, his family and to Bryant and to his wife and family condolences. This guy is one of the few sports announcers to have worked on pregame, play-by-play. Terry Bradshaw, 75 pounds lighter ago.
And hair.
Yeah. Super Bowl broadcast. He worked on play-by-play, radio on Super Bowl broadcast, pregame Super Bowl broadcast.
Everything you could think of.
Pregame show for Super Bowl 26, Super Bowl 30, Super Bowl 32, Super Bowl. I'm reading the Roman numerals here. Yeah, I know how to read, folks. Super Bowl 50. Thank you. I know you're worried about that. During his tenure as chief anchor of the NFL Today, he served along guys like Dan Marino and Shannon Sharp. So, was a great guy. I know that you can expand a little bit on him, Joe. You weren't really around all that for Jimmy Carter, but
not quite. More of the later life stuff with Carter, but
exactly.
But Greg Gumbel, I mean, this is a voice that, for me, I just think of just NFL Sundays. I just think of Sunday football.
Mm-hmm.
Some iconic calls. For me, it's just an iconic voice. It's, like you said, it's not the standard broadcasting voice.
No, it's not. It's not really good, everybody. But then again, it's really good because you recognize him. You know it's him, and he's solid. He always seemed to do his homework, right? Didn't
Yeah,
never
he always.
never made a lot of these announcers make mistakes now. He did the games back when they didn't have an official in the booth. He had to actually know the rules. So that's changed quite a bit. They have a referee now. If there's a ball that it moves in their hands, they got to call some guy that used to ref and blow the actual calls on the field to come in and try to figure it out, which drives me
I mean,
nuts.
if you go back and watch any game that Greg Gumbel called, it's the guy that not with knowledge of the game and like you said, the rules.
Yep.
But most of all, like he's a guy that like his commentary was worthwhile. Like,
yep,
that's so rare. You have some of these games where some of these guys, I'm not trying to pick on him, but Tom Brady as of recent,
handsome,
had a couple.
Very dreamy. Tom Brady. He's BB thinks he's dreamy.
And don't get me wrong, I love Tom Brady. I love the way he played the game, and he adds certain things, and he'll get better over time. But there's just some things that just don't.
Yeah. The other day at the introduction, at the beginning of the game, he forgot one of the key facts that he was bringing up. He goes, forget about it. I mean, it's not. He's gotten better. It's not easy to do it. Sometimes he's got a pretty good partner, Kevin Burkhardt. So
yeah, he's great.
If you work with Greg Gumbel, that's what I heard. What kind of guy he was. So, on behalf of Joe, on behalf of me, on behalf of the folks, and we have to talk about him right now because, yeah, you get two for the price of one tonight. Cumberland Chapels, ladies and gentlemen. Joe's going. Whew. He remembered 8,300 West Lawrence. Because believe me, I've forgotten before, folks. Anthony J. Lupo, Peter Martino, serving families with dignity and grace. Outstanding job. There's no doubt the Gumbel family is making arrangements out there in Davies, Florida, where he lived. These are the testimonials you get from Cumberland Chapels. Just an outstanding place. That's where you want to go. You'll be treated well. You'll be treated comfortably. And there it is. It's a block long, plenty of parking. You can't miss it. And if you know anybody in Chicago and you've lived in Chicago, you've been to Cumberland Chapels. Also, Pennyville Station, outstanding. Look at that. There's the logo. Yeah, it's already 6 years old. I remember when it opened. Beautiful place, outstanding place. Job is getting done over there. Well decorated, bright, festive, good times, great drinks, good service. Great prime rib on Saturday for the special. Tino Antonacci there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday during the day. His son Tony, who runs the place, owns the place there in the evenings for the most part, or there during the day. There I am with Jesse Rogers, 112 Main Street in Park Ridge. So on behalf of Joe, on behalf of me, on behalf of Cumberland Chapels, on behalf of Pennyville Station, on behalf of the Gumbel family, we wish you nothing but the best of luck out there, and we want everybody to stay healthy. We hope we don't see you till after the new year. We still have some. Drive carefully. We don't want. Although lately, Ben, it's the toughest time. You got to be relaxed. Don't get stressed out. And you know what? Hopefully, we won't see you for a while. But before we go, we also have two honorable mentions that we have to talk about tonight.
That's right.
We did bandy this about as a possible Maine. Somebody big just died, but she's just been away too long. But we used to watch Alice with Linda Lavin, and she was just it's a wonderful show. And Vic Tayback played her boss. Yeah, me and BB liked it because at the time we owned hot dog stands, and we had the same type of place. Flo, Brooke Henderson. I mean, it was a great show. It was on for a long time. Check out Linda Lavin in Wikipedia, folks. It was almost we decided to save the sponsors a little bit of money here, okay? Because but whenever you have to go back and forth, we've learned. See, Greg Gumbel, boom. Jimmy Carter, boom. Linda Lavin, Joe knows we go back and forth on, and we definitely went back and forth on Lenny Randall, who passed away. Lenny Randall played for the Cubs in 1980. Lenny Randall was the guy who bunted the ball after almost being hit with a pitch and attacked the pitcher instead of running to first base. Lenny Randall hit 257. Yeah. I think you could look for it, Joe, if you want. Lenny Randall, bunting, and then attacking pitcher, say, and see what happens. And I'll eat some time because that's what I been known to do over my 32, 33 years. Lenny Randle played on a bunch of teams. He made his mark with the Seattle Mariners. Joe loves when I come up with these odds and ends at the beginning, but he's looking for it. He might have found it, ladies and gentlemen. Joe found it. This is Lenny Randle. See, wait.
I'm running. I'm working on it.
Right.
I
Joe
found the
knows.
video though.
Joe knows that today on Lenny, he beat up a man. He beat up his third base coach, Frank Lucchese. He beat up a member. I don't know if he's on his team. He beat up Frank Lucchese. He was a wild man. But he played in Italy. He played ball all over. He was a career player. He played for the Cubs in 1980. And, he made his mark. But he was only about a 257 hitter. But he was one of those guys that if you had him on your side, okay, you wanted him. Especially if you were in a fight. He started 2 major brawls. Joe just saw the one. He's working on it right now because if he gets that up, you'll see what kind of guy Lenny Randle was. Pitcher throws the ball, almost hits him in the back of the head. Randle gets down. So Randle doesn't do nothing. He gets up, and then he says, I'm going to bunt. He bunts the ball and runs right for the pitcher. He runs right at the pitcher. So how are we working on this, Joe? Is it coming up or is it slow?
It's being slow.
Yeah. You like it, though, don't you?
I do like it.
You saw it yourself, right?
Yeah.
How many minutes are we talking? Can we hang on or what? Or is it time to move on?
I think we got to skip this one.
Yeah.
It's taking a minute to download, but it's great. He bunts and then he runs after and he spears the guy.
He fell out of the pitcher instead of running to first base, and then a big brawl starts. You'll be able to check it out. Check it out on YouTube, folks. I just dumped that. Joe saved one earlier, but he wasn't able to get this one. That sometimes these videos take a long time. But on behalf of everybody, we appreciate it. And to the Randall family, condolences. Somebody big just died. Honorable mention, Linda Lavin and Lenny Randle. See you later.
Happy New Year, everybody.
That's right.